can use also the chat, and they can also ask questions later directly raising their hands, so we can have a live debate later on. But in the benefit of time, let us continue, and I will give the word to Nicola Reber. He is from the project, and he will present another product of Roadmap, which is the Solutions Explorer that has very much to do with these good practices that we are collecting. Nicola, the floor is yours, please, for the next 20 minutes.
Thank you, Domingos. I'm sharing my screen. Let's see if it's working properly. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's okay. It's not in the presentation mode if you want to.
Okay. Okay. So basically, now we are presenting another piece, as Professor Viegas said, of the Roadmap project. This is a more, let's say, technological solution that has been conceived in this project to help collecting and systematizing the good practices that can be found both at the beginning through the research and of the thematic paper of the bulletins, but in general, the idea is to have this Solutions Explorer as an open tool to be open to the, let's say, the general public and to be able, in order to let a general public or expert to upload their own good practices following, let's say, an approach that I will present here. Basically, this is the point, and within the roadmap scheme where the Solution Explorer is. And what is a Solution Explorer? Is a general, let's say, open source web platform that, and now maybe if we have some time that we show you online the Solution Explorer is an open platform that will enable the project stakeholder and eventually at the end will be open to the general public to collect and find good practices in disaster risk management according to the criteria we have decided. And the idea is to have this as a tool for that should be flexible enough to host good practices in DRM coming from different levels of governance, different scales, different risk. So in order to try to systematize them in a way that can be useful for, let's say, people that is looking for specific solutions or application in the DRM field. Basically, we started from this scheme, so dividing the Solution Explorer into three main areas. The first one is called Solutions 2, and basically is reporting describing a single good practice in terms of if is in application of EU regulation, if is related to the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction in terms of targets and priority of action, and if is or can be applied in one or more phases of the disaster risk management cycle. Then there is, let's say, the second option, the menu, or is related to the characteristic of the practice, which are the scales, temporal and geographical, where the good practice is applied, and which are the risk elements that will be considered or are considered by the good practice. So divided in type of risk and asset at risk. These are the two elements that we need to focus more the search process. And then the features. So additional feature that can be useful for understanding at a glance the objective, the scope of the good practice. So which are the beneficiaries in terms of, for instance, citizens, decision makers, and vulnerable people, the actors involved. So on the other side is who are the main actors developing or using the good practice. The challenge is that the good practice is focused on and try to face, and the solution types, because of course these solutions can range from IT tools, as we said also during this the previous presentation, to recommendation, scientific products, technical regulation. So let's say in this way we can allow to have many, let's say, try to have all the full description of the good practice. And of course we add also where you can find example of this good practice. I will show you now some offline features, but then we can move to the online version, so we can maybe experience a bit more how the system is working. So this is, you can access to the Solution Explorer. You can, of course, have direct access, but you can also register, and I will show you the registration process that will allow you also to put good practices that you may have collected and you want to share with a larger community. Basically, these are the main features. So the three menus are solutions to, characterized by, and solution features. You can select some let's say a scenario. So using the choice, the multiple choices, and then clicking on Find Solution, go and look at a specific solution, and then have a description with links to the solution you have selected. Of course, one of the aspects that would be has been discussed during the development of the Solution Explorer is a methodology for the good practices collection, because at the beginning we are collecting also the good practices that should be, and that we are putting right now in the within the Solution Explorer, that by itself is an empty platform with a lot of features, but needs content and scientific content, contribution from the different first responders, of course, a scientist, local community. So this is allowed to also be a place where different kind of actor can interact and have also share different examples on how they intend or understand something as a good practice. But the first thing is we develop a kind of questionnaire where that is also used for profiling the users within the Solution Explorer. So understanding who is the expert that is providing the good practice, and then describing the good practice in terms of basic fact implementation, which can be the monitoring, and describe let's say all these points can help us in really collecting the contribution from different stakeholders. And as a main conclusion, let's say we may say that the Solutions Explorer was inspired by the Gap Explorer of Disaster Risk Management Knowledge Center. And as I said, it's an open source platform, and that can help in searching and browsing this solution in disaster risk management. The idea is to putting and trying to make it really interoperable with other DRMKC resources, and try to link it with existing relevant databases, like the Project Explorer, for instance, developed by CERIS. In general, let's say that, of course, that this Solution Explorer will be available from project partners, stakeholders, but then can be eventually open to the external institution, because I think that this is really a tool for engaging, let's say, and fostering the work of this knowledge network related to the UPCN. So it's a tool that can help also in sharing and let's say discussing or what is in our idea a good practice, and how to use this good practice for helping other communities to understand better the situations, if there are other communities, nation, stakeholders that already faced similar problems and propose some solutions. Let me, if I have some more minutes, let me go through the Solution Explorer, and let me start the Can you see my screen?
Not yet. We are still seeing. Okay, now.
Okay, that's perfect. So you basically this is the first page. You can log in, and of course, in this case, I've already registered. When you go in, you will see a dashboard with your profile. I'm let's say, let me say, the administrator, so I can add from with my permission manage many things, but I will show. So you can edit in your profile, say who you are, what are your competencies, and which is your role, and then check as put, or you can first of all start, say, okay, I want to upload a new good practice, and then you can write field, for instance, this field that are the title, the description, the action proposed by the good practice, and then fill this list that will help other people to really find your solution in a way, in a proper way, because you can decide if it's in application of EU PCM, EU regulations, more than try to understand, or if you want to say, okay, is achieving some of the target reduced mortality, for instance, from Sendai, and then let's say put which is the DRM cycle phase is basically focused on them. There are multiple choices, of course. The type of risk, let me say, just to, and the temporal scale, the asset at risk, let me say, population, and so on. So basically, you can then add resources at that link. If you save, you can save the new resource, and of course there is an error, but this always happens when these actions, for instance, you see, you cannot leave in blank the action field, because of course I'm putting just a really quick example and see if it's okay. Now it's saved. And then you can find all the solution we have. For instance, some solution that are waiting, and you can preview it. For instance, this is the one I just created, and it's quite slow, the network. And now you can see here the information I just put in the let's say solution I just sketched before. I can, but you can have, for instance, this is a good practice that is waiting for approval, so you can preview it. And this is an example of good practice with the description, the action, and all the information needed. And also with the link, because of course you may upload or files or link to specific websites that are describing more in detail the good practice. And then of course, you may, as an administrator, let's say, let me say, edit the good practice. Say, okay, I want to change or to add some element, for instance, action for preparedness. Let me say, save and close. And then you can also as another option, you can decide to approve a specific good practice. So if you go on edit again, you can change the status from waiting, that is not available to the general public to approved, save and close, and then this would be in, if you go into the approved menu, you see, let's say, the National Drought Management Policy Guidelines approved, and then of course you can delete them. And then manage I can manage also the users of allowing people to accept access to this good practice. Last thing, so I will be finishing time, is if we have access to want to browse a solution, say, okay, let me check which are solution. So you can select more than one. Let's start with the reduced mortality, and then you will see, as an example here, practices. Some of them have already been approved. Those who are not approved are shown, of course, but not in clear. So you can understand that there is a practice related. So the total number of practice you are looking for, but let's say is not yet approved by one of the administrator or project partners. If you click on one of these good practice, you can have access to the full description of the disaster preparedness, the action, the phases, and the source, who posted this solution, and so on. So I think we can stop here.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Will you be so kind to stop sharing, please?
Okay. I don't know why it's not allowing me to stop sharing, but I will check. Okay, no, it was hidden the button. Okay, thank you.